All right. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this one. So yeah, super excited to talk about land today, Project K. All right, so before I get started, I need to do the usual. This is a game in development. There's going to be changes. A lot of what I tell you today is things we're thinking about in the future. And yeah, obviously don't take any of it as financial advice. So with that out of the way, let's dig in. What is land? So just in case anyone here has not heard about what land is yet, it is the gathering place for the Lunasian digital nation to play, socialize, and build. And so as you know, Axie Infinity is a franchise. It's an IP with multiple media properties, multiple games. Land is one of them. And land is a huge one that incorporates multiple genres from real-time strategy to role-playing to simulation, and is really that metaverse layer that people can hang out at. And it's a multi-year project we are fully invested in building out for our community and our players. And the goal is really just a super fun digital gameplay experience and world made possible through blockchain technologies. And so let's look a bit more around where it fits into the Axie universe. So we have our first-party games kind of on the left there, where we have Origin and Land, and then we have third-party experience as well, where we have community, all of you building games. We have external studios that work on games for Axie. And so the first-party games is where we really look to push the envelope on blockchain technologies and the paradigm-changing games. And third-party experiences take that foundation and build out tons more types, genres, all different types of games with the Axie IP and the infrastructure. And so land is part of that first-party category. And so we started with Origin and the whole battle game system. And that was very straightforward, obviously PvP-focused. People can come in, and that game showed what could be done with blockchain gaming. It showed our community, it showed the industry, and land is really the game to take that to the next level. And that's why the scope is so much bigger. It incorporates multiple genres, and it's really meant to push the limits on what can be done. And so where do we see, how do we think of land in terms of pushing the frontier of games and blockchain? And when you look at the space, and you see there's many games and different experiences out there with land NFTs now. And there's kind of a spectrum. So on one side, there is the very UGC, user-generated content-focused, open world, ones like Sandbox or Decentraland. And then on the other side of the spectrum, where you actually don't see as much of, is land games with full content and progression and game mechanics and everything you have to just jump in and get started. And that's really where we wanted to focus with our land game, is like we want people to come in and be able to start playing a game with progression, with mechanics. And then we want to expand that, though. We want to bring that across the spectrum so that as we develop land, it has those metaverse elements. It has the user-generated content elements. And that's why it's such a huge, ambitious, multi-year game that we are putting so much effort and time into. Underlying all of that, it will incorporate all the innovative new technologies, from player-owned economics to asymmetric gameplay. So some people will have different experiences on land compared to others, and taking all of the interoperable assets in the ecosystem as well. So obviously Axies, but some of the NFTs in land can be used in other Axie games and vice versa. And so with all of that, we have to be very careful with how we build out land too, because with blockchain, it's hard to change things once you've got it out there. And the core of where land starts is really actually before Origin in terms of the story. And it's the beginning of the Axies building out their civilization. And you get to work on building that out. As they work on building up that civilization, you'll actually work with some native Lunasians that you'll meet too, and get to partner with them and work together. And you'll also learn more about just the overall Axie Infinity universe as you go through this game. So with that, let's take a look at the alpha that we've been working on, that we've talked about before, that we're aiming for the end of this year. So kind of the first few actions that we're adding in includes gathering resources, building structures, producing and processing those resources and materials, and crafting items. So these are some of the actions. And as I talked about actually in my previous talk, for anyone who attended, this is like Origin, a hybrid off-chain, on-chain game. And so most of these mechanics to start will be off-chain, other than obviously your land plot itself is on-chain. And then over time, we would layer on the token elements and build that out very carefully. So let's take a look at the latest on some of these features and how they're going first. So there's some land items there being placed that some of you might own out there. Awesome. So that's, oh, feel free to clap. So definitely huge kudos to the land team for working super hard on getting that and the demo out there going. But there's actually a couple other features coming in the alpha that we haven't showed as much about yet. And so one of them is trading. Within an auction house, you will be able to craft and trade items with other players. And these would be the off-chain items. And a big reason why it's all within the game is that it actually matters where your plot is when you trade these items. So if you're trading with someone far away from you in a plot across the land, it's going to take a while. If there's less roads, it's going to take a bit longer. And so all that matters with this auction house system. The other mechanic is idle combat. So as you craft items, what you want to work towards is selling those items to these native Lunasians who will take them and go battle enemies. And as they get those items, they'll give you a currency that you can further build up your land with. And as they defeat enemies, you actually earn points towards the leaderboard. And each season, whoever has the most points will get more rewards. And so let's take a look at what these look like right now. And these are actually not in the demo happening at AXIECON, so you won't get to try these out yet. Awesome. So that was the other features that we're working on getting out to everyone. And that's basically what's happening in kind of the near term. But we also want to talk a bit about the future of land and what we're going to work towards. And so as a quick summary before that, I'll quickly go over basically the overall loop. We have the gathering resources, build structures, produce materials. Then you craft those items, sell them to Lunacian natives, get those idle combat wins, rack leaderboard points, get your currency, and ultimately be able to trade everything in the auction house. So that's the base game we're aiming for 2022. So for the future, so we talked about phase 1. That's what we're trying to get out for 2022, this year. And for phase 2, we want to focus on getting out features that we know all of you, the community, cares about. And we've talked to a lot of landowners, and we talk regularly with a lot of you. And this is basically a lot of features that people just want. And I'll dig into some of them, such as delegation and NFT axes. And then in phase 3 is where we would layer on the token components and introduce a land token, more NFT items, and a lot more of that on-chain activity. And finally, in phase 4 is really focused on accessibility, allowing more people to access land, allowing better improved onboarding, mobile accessibility, app stores, all of that. And so that's a multi-year project, and we'll be working hard every day on it. So let's talk about a few of those features. So first, we have delegation. We know that a lot of our early Axie supporters, players, and later ones as well, many of them have a lot of land. And even if they played 24/7, they would not be able to play on all their plots. And so that is something we know and we've heard. And also, there's a lot of people who want to play land that don't have land yet. And so delegation is a system we want to build out so it's easy for people to delegate out their land to other players to play, to solve kind of both those. And the people that would get this land would manage it. We're calling stewards for now. And they would basically both work together. The off-chain resources would stay within the land, but on-chain resources can be split in different ways to the landowner, to the steward, to make sure that everyone benefits and is enjoying the gameplay. This will enable a lot more accessibility, especially in the short term, as we introduce more gameplay for free players in the future. Another one is just socializing on land. Community is obviously the key to our community. It's why we've still been thriving after all the ups and downs. We know people just want to hang out on land, and we want to build out the avatar Axies feature to allow people to just walk around, go to someone's plot, hang out, chat, and also represent themselves and use their NFT Axies to represent themselves on land. So you have your favorite Axie as kind of your avatar. Token gameplay. This is going to be a key part. Obviously, it's that layer that's on top of the off-chain gameplay, all the on-chain work. And so to start, we're going to be adding in some AXS gameplay that's going to be incorporated into the idle combat. So as you win and get wins in idle combat, you'll be able to pick up some AXS potentially. And once that system is more scalable and built out, a lot of the land staking rewards would go back in there, which has always been the plan. And so you would actually have to play and manage a lot of your land to get those AXS rewards. We'd also add in some loops where you can actually use AXS to generate some buffs and add them to beacons, give some bonuses to your neighbors as well, potentially. So a lot of different areas to incorporate there. And then the other area is land token. So we want to introduce a native utility token for land. And this would be used in all parts of land, from crafting NFT items to recharging NFT Axies to do certain tasks, many things. Some of you might be wondering or have asked, why wouldn't we use SLP, another utility token within our ecosystem? And it comes back to the game design. When you're using an external token within a new game with its own economy, it's almost impossible to balance that. So as SLP price went up or went down, the game and the core progression would now become a lot easier or a lot harder. And so we want to make sure that's all balanced within the same game with this new token. And this is definitely one of the hardest parts of blockchain games as a whole. And we need to be very careful with how we build this out to make sure it's balanced and sustainable. Next one is non-landowner gameplay. And so this starting to get into the accessibility area. We know there's the delegation system that allow for managers, stewards, and landowners to use their plots. But there's still a limited number of plots. And we want everyone in the Axie Infinity community to be able to play the land game. And this is where the asymmetric gameplay I talked about comes into play, where players that aren't managing land or aren't a steward, aren't a landowner, will actually get a different type of gameplay as they come into land. And the goal is that they would come in and be able to have a more Animal Crossing type experience. So they would get some sort of tent or a campsite on a public node and be able to start decorating and building out things, collecting resources, battling whatever mechanics are out there, and really progress in their own gameplay. And then over time, it'll intersect, where they would want to upgrade further from their tents and actually get an apartment. Those apartments would be on a landowner's plot. And landowners would build out these apartments that people can rent, spend resources on, and there's a lot of different ways we can structure it, but they would then be working together and have this gameplay where landowners are managing plots and non-landowners have this other gameplay where they're progressing and really building out their apartment and decorating and progressing their axes. And ultimately, this will allow anyone in the community to play and really enjoy the game. Accessibility, pretty straightforward. We want to get this on mobile. We want to get this on app stores, all the different areas, make sure everyone can access it. And the last one is dungeon battles. And so this is where we want to allow people to actually send their axies out there to battle chimeras and go into dungeon battles. And also with landowners, they would get benefits to actually be able to form larger parties with their friends or other players to take down larger bosses, larger chimeras. And all of that would be part of this dungeon battles feature for the future. And that's really it that I have for today. I think that hopefully was enough. And I hope everyone got a good idea of where we are with land and where we're going. There's no doubt this project is hugely ambitious. It's not going to be easy, but it probably wouldn't be worth doing if it was easy. Last thing is we have the demo out there for you to try out some of the basic mechanics, so definitely check it out. And thanks for listening today.